Welcome back. And in today's video, I'm going to go over my draft results from this past fantasy football season and tell you exactly who I drafted, when I drafted them, and some of my logic behind some of the choices that I actually made. This is actually a follow-up to some comments that was actually made on my very first video. So shout out to you if you see my very first video. If you was one of the ones that liked it, one of the ones that comment, I'm actually making this video for you because you guys did have some valid points and you wanted to know how I ended up being one of the worst fantasy football players of all time this past upcoming season. So I'm going to go over everything. I'm going to give you all the information. I'm going to tell you exactly why I selected some people and why I didn't select people. And I just wanted to tell you my whole strategy behind some of the people that I actually set, because I feel that after my draft, I felt like I had a pretty solid team to win this year. I felt like this year was going to be my year, just like it was my Dallas Cowboys year to win the Super Bowl, that I also was going to get my very first fantasy football championship. But one of the things to note is that this particular league that I'm in is actually a keeper league. So that means that some people was able to keep prior players from this year's team onto their team for this year. So I know you may say, hey, some of these players are available, but trust me, they probably wasn't, because somebody probably kept them. And I even personally had a keeper on my team, and I can go over exactly who that was so we know exactly what happened with the team. But I'm going to go over everything, and shout out to the people that got the notifications turned on. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that button, hit the bell icon as well, so you know when I drop a video and when I go live, and you be one of the first people that either comments or at least watches the video. I appreciate you. Thank you. So let's hop right back into it, right? So draft night comes up. I'm feeling pretty good, looking good, feeling great. I like my position, and I'm actually drafting 5th in the 12-person fantasy football league. It actually is called Fantasy Football Heads. Shout out to them. They're also on YouTube. Make sure you go get them a follow. We're going to go over the list of opponents or people that I'm going against in the next video, and I'll tell you exactly if I like them or not, or how they be cheating and stuff like that in the fantasy football league. But as of right now, let's keep it on the draft. So I'm going to go over everybody that I drafted. Obviously, like I said, there are keepers in this league. So it was people that wasn't available to me. But if you have any suggestions or different things like that, or people that I probably should have targeted, definitely drop that in the comments. But let's kick it off. In the very first round, matter of fact, let me tell you exactly who my keeper was from the prior year and what that decision cost me for keeping them. So I'm scrolling through now to find out exactly who I kept. It might have been nobody, because maybe my team was so bad the prior year that I didn't really keep nobody. But let me go through and see exactly who that person was. And wherever I kept them, that actually cost me the pick in that particular round. So I'm kind of embarrassed to even tell you who my choice was. It was actually Raheem Mostert from the Miami Dolphins. But I did get him kind of late, and I might have even got him like in waiver wire, but I kept Raheem Mostert, and it only cost me my 11th round pick. So that pick and that keeper didn't really hurt me at all. And I think I might have chose Raheem because he had a pretty beast year with the Dolphins the prior year in fantasy football before the Devon A-Chain came along. So I thought that was a pretty good keeper. Obviously, we know now that that probably wasn't, because he didn't really play that much this upcoming fantasy football season. But 11 round pick, that didn't really hurt me too much. So let's start back at the top. Very first round, I got pick number 5. And I'll just go through the first couple of picks here. Just to let you know, because in the first round, there really wasn't any keepers. It was only just one keeper. And I don't want this video to be super long, so I'm going to go through this pretty fast. I'm going to try to like put it on screen or who I selected or whatever. But in the very first pick, in the round 1, actually was CMC. Obviously, that's an obvious choice, right? Second pick was Tyreek Hill. The third pick was Bryce Hall. And the fourth pick was Jamar Chase. Outstanding first 4 picks, right? You would think. And then here I come with the 5th pick in the first round. I select Saquon Barkley. In my mind, I'm thinking Saquon coming to the Eagles, Saquon coming to one of the best running attacks in all of football. He should do good. Even though he didn't play well with the Giants the prior year, I thought I nailed my first round pick, Saquon Barkley. Without a doubt in my mind, I nailed my first round pick. Right? He did pretty good this fantasy football season as well, but he did kind of let me down in the playoffs. But that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. So first round pick, nailed it, Saquon Barkley. Round number 2. This is where it might have got a little bit shaky, and it might have would have like kind of cost me my fantasy football season early based on this particular right here. But I'm going to tell you exactly why I picked this person and my logic behind picking this person. So with the 8th pick in the second round, I select Brandon Ayuk. Not a splashy pick, but my logic and my thinking behind this pick was last year for the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk was like one of the number 1 receivers for them. And he also was pretty good at like stat padding, right? At like getting crazy yards and crazy points every single week because he kind of was like the number 1, and he also was Brock Purdy's favorite target. So that's why I selected him. Like in my whole mind of this fantasy football season, I wanted to pick players that got a lot of usage on their team and also was good at garbage time points and also just putting up massive fantasy points on a weekly basis. So I thought Brandon Ayuk was going to be that person. Unfortunately, this dude held out in the summertime for a new contract, and he didn't get too many reps in during the summer. He didn't really play too much during the preseason. So he kind of came into this year kind of rusty. And that kind of messed me up a little bit because I think this draft kind of occurred like late September, like early September. But going into that, he did hold out. He wasn't in training camp. So I thought maybe picking him at this particular point in the second round was going to be okay. I didn't think it really was going to hurt me because I wanted to go running back first, wide receiver second, because I thought Raheem Mostert was still going to be a valuable starter going into this fantasy football season, right? So I thought I was going to have Barkley and tee him up with Raheem, but obviously Raheem didn't do what Raheem normally would do, and he kind of sucked it up. So second round, Brandon Ayuk. Third round, right? In my mind, I got my first 2 running backs, and I got a wide receiver. And I know this next pick is probably a reach, but again, this person was a fantasy football god the year before. And I'm thinking, hey, this year, he is going to have to like throw the ball. He's going to have to like get yards. He's going to have to be the man in order for the Dallas Cowboys to do good. So in the third round, with my 5th pick, I select Dak Prescott. And looking at the board, I selected Dak Prescott, and he probably was the second quarterback off the board through round 3. The first quarterback was Patrick Mahomes. And then here I come in the third round selecting Dak Prescott. Again, I know what you're going to say. It's Dak Prescott. What are you doing drafting a quarterback in the third round? There's a whole lot of quarterbacks available. But again, in my mind, Dak Prescott is a fantasy god who drops a lot of points, and he's going to do well. We see how that turned out, right? He ended up getting injured. In the 4th round, I come around again. I select Stephon Diggs. Now, this might have been, no, he was already on Houston by this time. But again, number 1 wide receiver, going to a team that is needing a number 1 wide receiver that's going to put up massive numbers. But obviously, Stephon Diggs got hurt. He didn't do much really when he was, before he got injured. But Stephon Diggs, injury. So just in my first 2 picks, Dak Prescott and Stephon Diggs resulted in being injured at some point during the season. That actually kind of hurt me. So round number 5, here's another running back, Tony Pollard from the Tennessee Titans, former Cowboy, right? Number 1 running back. Tennessee had another running back that was coming off his rookie season or whatever. So I thought Tony Pollard was going to do pretty well. And actually, Tony Pollard did do pretty well throughout the whole season. So he didn't get like crazy like rushing yards, but he also got crazy receiving yards at the same time. And he actually did pretty well. So no harm, no foul for picking Tony Pollard. Probably could have got him in way later rounds, but I picked him in round number 5. And at this point, I'm thinking I'm killing the draft. I'm thinking they ain't going to be able to like want to see this team. I got Barkley, I got Tony Pollard, I got Dak Prescott, Stephon Diggs. Like, people going to fear this team, right? Yeah, okay. 6th round. This pick right here is Terry McLaurin from the Commanders. I wasn't too high on Scary Terry, but I know he normally does do pretty good as a number one wide receiver of the Commanders. Only thing that was scary about him was that he was going to have a rookie quarterback throwing to him. We obviously had no idea how Jalen Daniels was going to turn out, but obviously we see now he turned out pretty good. Scary Terry had some inconsistencies throughout the season, but he put up pretty solid numbers as a wide receiver number 3 for me. So no complaints about Scary Terry. Yeah, here and there. I just wanted him to hit his projection every single week, which he kind of did on a weekly basis. My 7th round pick, I went defense. I went Baltimore defense, right? Good pick. I thought it was a good defensive pick. Like normally I try to go early on some picks or some players or some teams before anybody else start choosing, right? And I think in the 7th round pick, picking a defense ain't a bad spot to pick a defense. And I believe, nope, Baltimore was the 2nd defense off the board. San Francisco also went in the 3rd pick in the 7th round. And then when it came to my pick in the 5th, I picked Baltimore. So Baltimore technically was the 2nd defense off the board. So again, I'm thinking I'm killing it. I'm thinking these people are asleep. I'm drafting with a bunch of robots that don't know what they're doing. But hey, that's a different story for another video, right? So in the 8th round, which was probably one of my most surprising picks and probably someone who did very well for me during the season, was running back Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. He did pretty well. He did good. Even though he's on the Carolina Panthers, I think he might have had games where he hit below his projection. But for the most part, he was pulling his weight every single week. He was hitting his projections. Some weeks he had monster games and he went over and he helped me win. But I picked Chuba Hubbard not knowing that he was going to be the beast that he was. Like, I knew he was going to probably be average. He's probably going to be decent or whatever. But he held his own. He did pretty good. So I'm not too mad about the Chuba Hubbard. He is a high candidate to be one of my keepers going into this season. So I might keep Chuba Hubbard. It's only going to cost me my 8th round pick heading into this year. So he might be my keeper. Out of everybody that I just named so far, he might actually be my keeper going into the new year on my road to the 2025 Fantasy Football Championship and Fantasy Heads. So in the 9th round, I picked Dalton Schultz. I think that was my very first tight end pick. I wasn't too happy on that particular pick, but he was a key person to the Houston Texans offense the last season, so I'm thinking he was going to be able to keep up that production. But Dalton Schultz was a bomb this year, man, so that turned out not to be a good pick. I think that was a good pick based on where I picked him in the 9th round, but production-wise, Dalton Schultz wasn't there. He was a bum. I can't wait to get him off my team. So round number 10. Obviously, these later round picks don't really matter too much. You just kind of really like trying to fill up your bench or whatever. But in the 10th round, I pick Jameson Williams from the Detroit Lions. Not a bad pick considering where I got him at. Jameson Williams is not like a true starter wide receiver, 1, 2, or 3, maybe a flex person that you can throw in there. Unless the matchup is friendly for the Lions, then yeah, you can put in Jameson. Jameson Williams is one that's going to maybe boom or bust on a weekly basis. I think maybe towards the end of the year, they got him a little bit more involved, so he's a little bit more consistent. But when I picked him at number 10, and I'm thinking of Jameson Williams, I'm thinking, hey, every now and then he's going to have a great game because he's going to be able to bust down the field and get a long TD, which he did throughout the season pretty consistently. But he wasn't in my lineup every single week or someone that I can depend on every week. So he kind of like set the bench until the Lions had a favorable matchup. But not a bad choice there. So pick number 11 again actually was my keeper, Raheem. So I was pretty much set there. My 12th pick to fill my bench was a kicker. The kicker from Houston, Fairburn, or however you say his name. Not too bad. I think he was like the number 2 kicker in fantasy football last year. So that might have been like one of the first kickers off the board in the 12th round. So he turned out okay. Houston got some pretty good field goals through the week, and he was kicking his ass off for the most part. So no complaints there. And the last and final round was round number 13. Romeo Doubs from the Packers. A solid pick if he played. I think at some point he got injured, but he didn't even really like make the lineup too much every single week because he got injured, but another bust. But overall, as I was drafting this team, I was feeling good. I thought I was like killing it this whole draft, and I'm thinking I'm playing with bots and this is my year. And it looked pretty promising, right? The team looked pretty promising. So my week 1 lineup, let me bring that up for you right quick. For week 1, the people that I started, and I'll tell you exactly like, did I win my first week, which I actually think I did. So my starters, week 1, who I went into fantasy football was at quarterback, Dak Prescott. Wide receiver 1, Brandon Ayuk. Stephon Diggs, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz, Terry McLaurin. I didn't even start Trevor Herbert the first week, and I'm glad that I didn't because he only did like 2. And then I had Baltimore defense. So my very first week 1 matchup, let me see if I won. I can't remember. Week 1, did I win week 1 with that lineup? I don't think so. I think I was cheated. I don't be losing fantasy matchups. I just be cheated. Okay? I be robbed. I don't ever lose it. I just be cheated and robbed of my W. So I'm trying to see exactly did I win in week 1 with the lineup that I actually drafted. Let's take a look. Boom, boom, boom. Where's the Jeopardy music at? Dun, 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 dun. We almost there. I'm at week 7. So again, I thought I was doing good, man. I thought I like busted the draft wide open. I thought I had the best draft. And you know what? Yahoo actually gave me like an A+ grade for this drafting, right? I think I was like one of the only ones to get like a good grade. So, but week 1, all right, we're at week 1. Week 2, I won. But did I win in week 1? And week 1, you guys are going to have to stay tuned about who I played in week 1. But in week 1, I lost by 9 points. I can't even tell you who it was. I'll say that for a whole nother video. But in week 1, I lost. Dak Prescott had a projection of 55, only came in with 36 points, which was terrible, even though they won the game 33-17 against the Browns. Brandon Ayuk, Mr. Stat Patter for the San Francisco 49ers, only gave me 4 points when he was projected to hit 12. Stephon Diggs did pretty well. He was projected to hit 14 and gave me 22. Barkley went off against Green Bay. He came in at 46 points compared to his 21 projection. And Tony Pollard did well, again, over his projection at 26 and 15. Dalton Schultz was a bum. Terry McLaurin was a bum. The kicker for Houston did pretty well. And Baltimore's defense kind of let me down a little bit. They only gave me about 3. But I only lost week 1 by 9 points. So it wasn't too bad. I didn't think that the season was a lost cause in week 1 because you know you can't win a championship in week 1. So I was okay with this result. Again, like I said, I did win week 2, and I thought I was humming along until these injuries start piling up. So through week 3, I'm 2-1. Through week 4, I did lose again by like 9 points. But again, the injuries start piling up. But that's a whole nother story, a whole nother video. But I just wanted to get on here and take it back a little bit and let you know my draft results and who I drafted and how my team was made up. So we're not going to ever talk about this again, about who I picked and who I drafted, because this season was a lost cause. So we are moving forward. And I'm going to go through and make some more videos about my thinking of who I'm actually going to be targeting. But now you know what happened this past year. This ain't happening again. I will win my very first fantasy football championship in 2025. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you comment on the videos. Let me know what you thought about my drafting. Let me know what I did wrong and what I did right. Who you liked and who you didn't like compared to when I drafted them. But hit that bell icon, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.